What do you mean? A catastrophe can happen anywhere. Have you heard of the Arab-Israeli conflict, or the Bangladesh crisis, or the situation at Managua, Nicaragua?
Yeah, I know about those people in those places. But in Africa, the richest continent on earth, with over half the world's gold, over 90% of its diamonds, lithium, uranium, cobalt, rubber, and all that wealth.
It is true that Africa is the richest continent, but the Sahel area is poor.
What do you mean poor? How could it be poor among all those riches? Run it down to me, Noah, black brother, run it down.
Cool it, black sister. I'll run it down. First of all, this is mainly the desert region of Africa above the equator. The equator spans Africa almost at its center, geographically speaking, where the sun's most direct rays hit the earth in a circular manner. It's the equator. On the equator, you'll find a better quality and abundance of life, animal and plants, rainforests. The further you get away from the equator, north or south, you leave the rainforests and into the savanna. And beyond the savanna, the desert.
You mean Africa has two deserts?
Yes, the Sahara in the north and the Kalahari in the south. The Sahara is known as the giant desert, and the Kalahari, the baby. The Sahel is the name of the area on the southern border of the Sahara Desert.
What has that got to do with Africa letting this catastrophe get so alarming?
Cool it, black sister. You said run it, I'm running it. Secondly, the Sahel area has a particular poor climate. The condition, a mild distribution and small quantity of rain. Thirdly, the inhabitants are mainly nomads, herdsmen, and the farmers whose lives are highly dependent upon the water. For the last 5 years, there was no rain. The river and the lakes shrunk. The wells ran dry. The water holes dried up. The people, being highly religious and contribute most occurrence in life as the will of God, Allah, and they accept these conditions as the will of some supernatural power and mainly leave it up to that supernatural to solve the issue.
How horrible! How many countries are in the Sahel? How many people are involved?
Generally, 6, but Ethiopia and the Sudan as equally, if not more, affected. In general, they are referring to 1, Mauritania, 2, Niger, 3, Senegal, 4, Upper Volta, 5, Mali, 6, Chad. Some say 10 million, and others say over 25 million people's lives are threatened by the Sahel crisis.
25 million people? You mean to tell me they can't help themselves? What's wrong with them? They all can't be poor.
Cool it, black sister, and I'll run it a little further. Previously, I mentioned a fatalistic view of the future held by many people in the area, which runs counter to the modern and logical concept of looking to the future and planning to meet the predictable consequences. The other African countries are also poor, and most are suffering from the effect of neo-colonists' experience. Political, but not economically independent. They just emerged from European colonialism in the 60s. The colonists who exploited the Sahel for over 200 years never worried about the future of the land of the people. They sought cash crops for export and profit, rather than food crops, which they are in short supply. They cut down the trees, overworked the soil, and erode, causing a lots of trees, farm and grazing land. However, and in spite of their so-called colonial status, the Africans did respond. The heads of states of the Sahel countries, Farm and Interstate Sahel Control Board, and others gave aid to their kingdoms collectively through the OAU. And some gave individual aid, one of $1 million.
How would you sum it all up, knowing black brother?
A disastrous climatic situation accompanied by a bad economic condition suffered by the inhabitants in the Sahel in particular, and black Africa in general.
What's being done to solve the problem?
That takes us to something else, relief.
Relief, relief! At last help began to arrive, averting instant death, bringing plans to survive. Relief, relief! Aid come from many sources, even from across the seas. Humanitarians everywhere study the recourses and hear the Sahelian plea. Relief, relief! First came food, medicine, clothing, and assist their immediate needs. Then came study of the long-range problem, calling for dams, irrigation, tractors, trucks, fertilizer, and seed. Relief, relief. The needs are vast, and the responses were great, an example of pure brotherhood. But the problem remains and will happen again unless we don't do what we should. Relief, relief. Humanitarians from Africa, Asia, Australia, and the USA answer the call, one and all, in their own way, under their own sway. Relief, relief. The OAU, the UN, the European Common Market, the Arab League, and the Communists too, along with the Baptists, Catholics, Methodists, Muslims, all came through and gave their due. Relief, relief. Push, RAIN, the National Association of Black Social Workers, AFRAIN, and many other organizations among the blacks in the West heard their kinsmen plead, pledged to see what must be by doing their very best. Relief, relief. There's one group that heard its kinsmen plead and truly felt their grief. That is the organization that is sponsoring this affair and one who really cares, the Universal African Relief.
Humanitarians of every race have always emerged to show their face, to help people in distress. It cut across racial and national lines in assisting people to better times whenever given the test. The bulk of the help must come from within before you look to your friend to do for you what you should do for yourself. It has always been that way, and it must be so today, unless you are blind, mute, man, white man, Semite, or what have you, each has a place in this world.